Couple of tips. So the three simple steps that I mentioned, these are the three things that I want you to write in your notes. And this is the 3-step process that I always want you to follow. And then I'm going to give you a couple of tips around handling objections to move forward. So the first thing that we do, and it might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but I actually want you to agree with them. We had a lot of people mention money. My response when someone goes, oh, look, it sounds really great, but I can't afford it. I actually turn around and say, hey, totally get it's a really big investment, but your results or where you want to get to is worth it. Let me ask you this, what could you afford? So we agree and acknowledge first, because that agreement lowers their resistance to actually having a conversation and trying to solve the problem. If you jump straight into trying to convince them that the money's worth it or anything like that, the wall is already up and you've already lost them. The next thing that you want to do, which I just did, was respond with a question. So you always want to turn what they've said into a question. I'll give you some examples. So the first one that I used was, I can't afford it. Great. Totally understand. It's a big investment, but let me ask you this, what could you afford? Another one that someone mentioned, I think, was time. Totally understand. It might sound like a big commitment, but let me ask you this, how much time do you have? So always make sure you're tailoring the question, but you're using their language. Next up, you provide the solution. Now, one little tip, crew, one thing that I always train people on in sales before they provide the solution, you've got to ask one more question. Aside from cost, is there anything else that's holding you back? Or another way that you could frame it is, do you feel that this is the right program for you? Because if you provide the solution and you haven't asked that question, then they've got an opportunity to go, oh, and it's also time. And then you've got to go back and start all over again. Now, the fantastic thing about providing the solution that I find is this is your moment to really build rapport and connection with your clients and tailor something that's going to work for them. Obviously, the bigger you all get in your businesses, the tailoring is not going to be as frequent. So if someone turns around and goes, oh, look, can I pay you $200 this week and then $300 in 2 months' time, I'd be turning around and saying no, because it'd be too hard basket. So you want to make sure that it's something repeatable, that's going to be easy for you, but that also supports the client to take that step. It also supports you to understand where they're at financially. If you know that someone's struggling financially and that money's probably going to be a problem, then you probably won't worry about pursuing them. If, as an example, they turn around and go, oh, look, really all I've got is $5 a week, probably not going to be able to work with that. It's timing. This could be, hey, look, I just don't think it's the right time right now. So there might be one tiny little thing, crew, that you've mentioned during the conversation that's made them think this is more of a time investment than they actually anticipated. So it might be something like, oh, look, Ruth, you mentioned that the sessions go for an hour. I've really only got 45 minutes. And that's all that's holding them back. And you simply turn around and go, great, well, we can make the sessions 45 minutes if that works for you. And you've got a new client. They might turn around and go, oh, look, I've got my kids every second week and I really want to be there for them. So I can't do weekly sessions. So I'd go, great, why don't we catch up fortnightly? You see how easy it makes it, crew? You're not having to do the guesswork. When you turn it into a question, they tell you exactly what you need to help them figure out. The other big one that a lot of people get is, will it work? This is probably one of the instances that you could turn around and share a story or give a testimonial. So if they've given you specific things that help you recall a previous client that you've worked with, you could definitely tell them about that. One of the big things that I always do is go, hey, look, this isn't just a coaching program for you, but it's a coaching program for your whole business. So if you've got a business partner or somebody else on your team that needs the support, we're going to be there to give you a hand at no extra cost. I wanted to give you a couple of extra tips just to help you out with this and to support you in the journey. I know that sometimes handling objections can be a little bit scary, especially if you haven't done this a lot before. So there's just a few things that I want you to remember when you're going through and dealing with this part of a call, because it's always going to come up. So the first one is active listening. Always make sure that you put yourself aside, because I generally think that the objection stage of a phone call is generally when our lack of confidence and stuff can come up. The opposite side of that, please don't be desperate. And I get for some people, especially if you are just getting started or if you are very established and you've had a bit of a lull in your sales for the month and you really want to get that extra sale, sometimes a little bit of desperation might come across, but that is about you. It's not about the client. Playing into that, I want you to talk like a boss. So what I mean by that is you do not need to justify or prove anything about your coaching, your value, your price, absolutely nothing. Because as soon as you get into justification mode of, hey, look, I know it's expensive, but you get this, and I can throw in this and all that stuff, you've lost the sale because it starts to become more about you than it does about the client. And on top of that, I think that it also shows a real strength in your belief as a coach or a consultant or trainer or whatever you want to call yourself when you really stand your ground and go, hey, look, I believe in what I have to offer. I'm here to support you. The other thing that you want to be mindful of is to avoid information overload. If you get onto calls with people and their response, their objection is, I need to think about it, you've given them too much information on the call. If you explain your entire program to them, you will get an I need to think about it because there's too much information they've got to digest. The final piece of the puzzle, crew, and this is a big one because especially when you've done a lot of coaching calls or a lot of sales calls, you start to assume what people are thinking. You'll tend to find that your energy will change or you'll start to switch off because of something that they've said. The number one thing that I want you to remember is to never assume what they are thinking. Always ask powerful questions and you will never be stuck in doubt or fear or anything because you'll be working and supporting them to figure out how they've got to get there.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit like so that we can share it with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you never miss another level up strategy that could completely change the game when it comes to growing and scaling your business. We love supporting and helping entrepreneurs to take things to the next level. So be sure to comment below, let us know your questions or the other videos that you would like us to do, and we'll see you on the other side.